Good day. You are listening to the Bloomin Bodhisattva podcast brought to you by the Rissho Kosei-kai Dharma Center in Oklahoma City. I'm James.
I'm Alyx.
I'm Jocelyn.
I'm Karin.
And we're
the Bloomin Bodhisattvas.
This sutra will
Make one who is miserly aspire to generosity.
Make one who is arrogant aspire to keeping the precepts.
Make one who is angry aspire to forbearance.
make one who is lazy aspire to diligence.
Make one who is distracted aspire to meditation.
Make one who is ignorant aspire to wisdom.
So that was a passage from the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, which is kind of the introduction to the Lotus Sutra, and it describes what is known as the Six Paramitas. So, what is a paramita, you ask? Let me tell you. It is a way of, it's also known as like the six perfections. And so what's being perfected? What do you guys think?
The Buddha way.
Yeah, that's good. Sure.
Our own actions and behavior.
Beautiful. Actions, behavior, thoughts, all of it. Your
Yes.
spirit. And so it's perfecting your whole consciousness, all of that good stuff.
Your being.
Yes, your being. And we'll get to that in a minute. What does that mean, a being? And so what does paramita mean? So so it's related to words like paramount, paramour, and that sort of thing. So para also kind of means like going to the other shore. And so you'll see that in a lot of religious traditions. You know, what do we mean by the other shore? Where is the other shore? What do you guys think?
The next step after death?
Yeah, that could be the afterlife, sure.
Yeah.
Attaining enlightenment.
Sure. You know, and we talk about vehicles, like Mahayana is like the greater vehicle. And so vehicles are there to sort of carry you from, you know, the mundane world, the material world, to the spiritual world. And so that's what's being kind of connoted here.
They're Buddha boats to help you cross the river.
Yes,
River.
they are. They're Buddha boats. All right. So these are the foundations to the Mahayana path. In fact, in Mahayana Buddhism, we say that the fourth noble truth, which is about, you know, what is the path to enlightenment, which is the, you know, the eightfold path, also includes the six paramitas.
Okay.
So are you doing math in your head right now?
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
so
I mean, no, I was staring off into space, but it may have looked like that, but
I was doing math. Okay.
All right. So three. So the three noble truths.
Three noble truths.
And then the fourth one
Okay.
includes the eightfold path and the six paramitas. So that's 8 plus 6 plus 3.
And which path am I supposed to be taking
All
now?
right, moving right along, folks. So there are 3 vehicles that we talk about in Mahayana Buddhism. And they're the ones that, you know, we now call kind of Theravada, but they are the Shravaka path, the Pratyeka path, and the Bodhisattva path. And all of these are considered ways towards enlightenment, but there are differences between them. All right?
okay.
So let's explain what those are. So do you guys know what a Shravaka is?
No.
Karin, what do you think a Shravaka is?
One who understands,
Sure.
contemplates
Oh, I like
the
that.
teachings.
Mm-hmm. So originally it meant the actual disciples of the Buddha, of Shakyamuni Buddha, the ones who heard literally what he was saying. And so Shravaka, I think, just translates into hearers, you know, somebody who listens to something, who hears something. And then later on, it was like just someone who studies the sutras and kind of hears the Buddha's words, and that's how they seek enlightenment, is by following, the actual teachings. And they are capable of achieving a form of enlightenment called the arhat. And so arhats were originally what we thought the entire point of Buddhism was, which is that you get rid of all of your desires and your defilements, that we call them, and then when you die, you go to nirvana, and your essence fuses with the oneness of the universe, and that's what an arhat is. So that's all good, but it's not the whole story. And that's what Mahayana Buddhism is going to come and tell us all, that it's not just about you achieving personal enlightenment. So we use the word defilements. What do you guys think? That's a pretty big, kind of scary word. What do you think defilements mean in a Buddhist sense?
I mean, going off of kind of context, I mean, not even context clues, but I know what defilement means.
Yes.
Otherwise, not in a Buddhist context.
Yeah, so what does it mean just in a regular context?
I mean, I guess like just when you defile something, it's like you've ruined it, you've corrupted it, you've
Yeah, like, I mean, and
spoiled it.
It's usually a really, kind of a negative, insulting word. So it's got a lot of bad connotations.
Irreverence.
Sure. Yeah, you bet. It's something that brings something down from the spiritual to the material, and even like nasty kind of material. Something's defiled, it's nasty and dirty and ugly.
So the opposite of right.
Yes, exactly. So not righteous, not spiritual, certainly not pure. Defilements for Buddhism would be bad thought patterns and bad behavior patterns. And so we've talked about them before. And of course, the big defilements are the three poisons, which are, anger and greed and ignorance. All right. And all of those, of course, cause suffering. So the point of being a Shravaka was to follow the teachings and purify your mind. And once you purified your mind, you would merge with nirvana, and you wouldn't have to go back onto the wheel of samsara anymore. Got it? Good. Now, Prachika Buddhas. So Prachika Buddhas, it literally means a solitary Buddha. That's what it translates into. And so these were legendary people who would go out into the mountains or into the forest, and they would be alone, and they would just kind of commune with nature and meditate all the time and eat nuts and honey and, whatever happened to be around, and live in a little hovel or a cave or something like that. And they would just find enlightenment by just being, kind of alone with nature, and finding wisdom inside themselves. So what do you guys think about that?
Wasn't Shakyamuni Buddha a Prachika Buddha?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. He didn't find the same kind of enlightenment that we're talking about with Prachika Buddhas, but definitely this was a Hindu tradition, and really a tradition for a lot of religions, where you would, kind of forsake the material world, certainly forsake society, and then go out and just kind of find, your oneness with, with nature.
Yeah, go be a little druid.
Yeah, so the Druids were kind of crazy, but yeah, why would you need to get out of society in order to find enlightenment?
I mean, society has so many distractions.
Absolutely. Like what?
Greed, desire,
politics.
Oof, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, Prachika Buddhas would, and a lot of times this would be something you would do kind of towards the end of your life, where you'd have a family, and, you would, be a merchant or whatever. And then you would retire and go out in the forest and seek enlightenment, and then there were others that they were just, forest monks that would go out, and they would just kind of separate themselves from the world. And so, if they weren't being taught by somebody, where were they finding enlightenment?
Within themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing about Prajika Buddhists, is that they would find their inner wisdom. All right, everybody got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last vehicle, and this is the one that is, used by Mahayana Buddhism, is the Bodhisattva vehicle. And so Bodhi means awakening or enlightenment. And then sattva's a, kind of a complicated word that sort of means being. It could be a being, like a person, but it could also mean kind of your spiritual being, right? And so Bodhisattva, when you think about Bodhisattva, what do you guys think about?
Sort of a Buddha with a community.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, what else?
Someone who's active and very, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
I had a
active.
word. I had
Yeah.
a word in my head.
Sure, like active in the community.
Yeah.
You guys refer to it as like a Buddha in training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And so what does it mean to be a Buddha in training?
We're working towards getting that enlightenment.
Yeah. Well, how do you do that? I mean, personally, how do you guys go about doing that?
I just work on myself and, how I view the world and my perspective on things and how I can do better to treat other people and treat the world.
That's good.
Make a commitment to be of service to humanity.
Very good. Yeah. I think that's a real deep commitment that all of us share, is that's kind of what we're on. And so we're on a path. We know that we're kind of messed up right now, but we're, kind of getting better. And just a little bit at a time, and trying to make the world a better place around us. And that's what being a bodhisattva is all about. Now, originally, a bodhisattva was somebody who had gone through countless lifetimes of spiritual enlightenment and had gotten to the point to where they were ready to become an arhat. They had gotten rid of all their defilements and desires, and they were ready to merge with nirvana, and they're almost there, and they go, no. I think I need to come back. I think I need to be reborn. So they actually can control their own rebirth. This is the legend. Yes.
I just, period.
Yes. Right. Control their own rebirth, period. And that means that they're sacrificing, as the most precious thing that they could think of, which is their own spiritual enlightenment. Why? Because they want to help everyone else get there. All right, everybody got that?
So what do you think, Dad? You think any of us have reached enlightenment in our past lives?
I feel like if any of us were actually bodhisattvas, that it would be readily obvious to everyone, including ourselves. It's not.
Oh.
So it's all right.
Darn.
I feel like most of us have gone a few lifetimes to make it where we are today. You bet, and that's not nothing. But at least in this ancient sense, bodhisattva is a really kind of precious, rare thing. And so Shantideva is this Buddhist scholar back in, when was he in? Oh, okay, about the 8th century. Okay, so about 800, 700, 800, around there. And he was a scholar at the famous university called Nalanda, which was this great Buddhist university in India. Mm-hmm. And so he actually wrote a book called The Way of the Bodhisattva that popularized what Bodhisattva was and what it means to everyone. And that's kind of the next thing on my reading list. And this is a quote from him. He says, "May I become shelter for the homeless, food for the hungry, and a bridge for those who wish to cross turbulent waters." So that's pretty giving, right? So what does it mean being a bridge to help people cross turbulent waters? What kind of turbulence?
Turbulence of life.
Yeah,
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yes. So just this kind of everyday suffering and obstacles and all that. So kind of smoothing people's path. Yeah, that's cool. What else makes life turbulent?
I mean, just life is turbulence.
feel like we went over that
That
somewhere.
that is a fundamentally Buddhist principle. Yeah, life is turbulence. I think about emotional turbulence usually when I think about that. You know, just things just kind of going wrong, and not just going wrong, but really upsetting you by going wrong. You know, like losing your wallet or something like that. So this leads us to the 4 Bodhisattva vows. And they all are about leading everyone else to liberation. And so, first one is...
However innumerable living beings are, I vow to liberate them.
And the second one?
However immeasurable the defilements are, I vow to extinguish them.
And the third one?
However limitless the Buddhist teachings are, I vow to master them.
And the fourth one is, however infinite the Buddha way is, I vow to realize it. And so there is a tradition in Rissho Kosei-kai and kind of Nichiren Buddhism where these are all kind of represented by 4 bodhisattvas. Bodhisattva steadfast practice, pure practice, boundless practice, and superior practice. And we talk about those in the Kyotins that we chant. And so they are represented on the Honzen, which is a statue of the Buddha. And the Buddha's kind of got all these, you know, kind of rays radiating around it. And they're embedded in these 4 bodhisattvas, and they are the bodhisattvas that I just mentioned. So I just thought that was kind of a nice side note. All right, what do you guys think about all of these things basically saying, I vow to attain the unattainable? Why would they say that? Is Buddha just setting us up to fail? What's up?
I guess it's to strive for things that we think we can attain, but we actually can.
Yeah, we acknowledge our mortality and our limitations, but at the same time, look for things, you know, understand that we've got, you know, kind of the capacity for infinite improvement.
Yeah. There's a lot of good we can do in a short lifetime.
Mm-hmm. And so even though, you know, these are, you know, perfections, you know, really, they are something, you know, that are just meant to kind of inspire us. You know, we're not, you know, bodhisattvas in that, you know, really technical sense. You know, we have not gone through all these lifetimes of enlightenment. And, you know, if we had, we probably would know it. But the bodhisattva represents kind of a model that we can aspire to. And I think it represents the fact that all of us have an infinite capacity for compassion if we're able to kind of get out of our own way and open it up to everybody. All right, so it helps us work towards the 2 things that Buddhism is really geared towards, which is peace of mind and peace on earth. And they represent the selflessness and compassion that are in each and every one of us.
Wow.
So let's talk about the very first paramita, and this is one that's kind of unique and central to Mahayana Buddhism, and that is generosity. Very good.
Ooh.
So, generosity, of course, kind of follows the Bodhisattva path because it's about giving to others. It involves something that's external to us. And so, what do you guys think of when you think of generosity? Why is that a good thing?
I mean, it helps people out. It brings us closer together. It connects people.
Love it. Yeah. And if we talk about one of the seals being interconnectedness, yeah. Good.
Offering
Yes. Now, why is offering good?
as opposed to taking.
Exactly. Yes.
There's a time and place for both, but give more.
I think that is the general rule for Buddhism. Absolutely. And so there are different kinds of generosity. So let's talk about them. The first one I'm going to talk about is just straight out what you usually think about, and that is material support. And so that could be money for sure, but what are other ways that you can kind of support people and are, you know, make contributions, be generous to others?
Gift giving.
Sure. Do you guys like giving gifts?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like giving gifts like more than receiving gifts sometimes?
A little, yeah.
Yeah. I like I like making gifts. I like doing specifically handmade stuff, and I feel like that even more is something that I enjoy.
Yes, that's really cool. What else? What other kinds of? What is it about giving that is so great?
I really like finding things that I know people are gonna like. And it makes me happy when they do, in fact, actually like the thing that I got them. It's like I put a lot of thought into things, you know?
One of the nicest things about being a parent is that, especially when your kids are little, you get to kind of relive Christmas and stuff in a way, or like Easter in ways that aren't grown up anymore. And so you kind of live for that Christmas morning when you've been up all night putting together that, My Little Ponies, castle or whatever it happened to be. And then, you're just ready for the kids to come in and their face to brighten up and their eyes to get big and and see the joy that you've brought somebody. And so I really do like shopping for other people and like finding that nice thing that, it's like, oh, they're going to really like this. And honestly, when I'm getting gifts, I kind of feel awkward about it in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, what do you want for your birthday? I don't know. Nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
good.
And this is why I have to just have these little bits of my friends and family's personalities in my head when I'm gift giving or gift shopping. Like that Dice Tower statue thing I got you yesterday
that
for
was a great
Father's
present.
Day. Great present. Not on your list. I just found it on GameStop and I knew you would like it.
I didn't really have a list, but yeah, and like
He never does.
and nobody crap, and then you could crap out and give like a gift certificate or something. It's like, how meaningless is that? So capitalist.
It's the thought that counts.
Yes, sure it is. So, generosity. It relieves people's pain. You give them something, especially if they need it, that really kind of helps relieve their suffering. And a lot of times that's because, there's some kind of deprivation going on there. And so generosity, for people that actually need things that they don't have, that is really important.
Yes.
Okay. Next form of generosity. Donation of action and energy.
Yeah.
So, tell me about this. What does this mean?
I mean, it helps, it's giving your time, giving an ear to listen, giving, support and love and...
A shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
Right. So, emotional. That's good. I like that. What else?
I mean, like, just acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things for other people.
Do you guys do any kind of volunteer work or anything like that?
I wish I was doing more.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
So, no, you guys are young and you have full-time jobs. It's all right. You're doing plenty. Karin, do you do stuff? I know that you help out at the Dharma Center. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, offering time in your service, whether it's, setting up the altar. But I think touching on what Jocelyn said, being there for someone, because that to me is poverty. When you don't have, let's say you find yourself desperate and there isn't, someone to help you get out of the hole you just dug for yourself or found yourself in. Sometimes it's circumstances. So, we all are connected and we need someone. We need people in our lives. We need that Sangha in whatever form. And I think generosity of spirit is, I think as important, as actual resources.
I totally agree. And I think that's, when we talk about deprivation, emotional or spiritual deprivation can be more devastating than, financial or physical material deprivation. So that's very important. You guys are great.
I mean, that's typically the kind of generosity that I offer, typically, is emotional generosity and, always being there and giving advice or an ear to listen to or whatever. An ear to listen to, an ear to... How do I... Hold on.
A listening ear.
Yeah, there we go.
An endless listening ear.
Yes.
Nice.
In a way, isn't doing this podcast a donation of your time?
It is indeed. Yes, it is. Okay, great. All right, so the last one is teaching the Dharma. So let's talk about that. So we're a bunch of Western Buddhists in the middle of Oklahoma.
Yeehaw.
A little bit in the minority.
Yeah.
Not the dominant religion here, even a little teeny tiny
Definitely
little bit. No. Worldwide, I believe Buddhism is the fourth largest religion. But there are, this is different than how it would be in Japan or, China or someplace like that. This is, people will question you. And so how do you go about teaching Dharma in a way that doesn't make someone want to attack you for your religious beliefs because they're different from theirs?
Frame it in a way that doesn't, really necessarily mention Buddhism in any sort of way.
Sure, you don't have to use, Sanskrit words or anything like that.
Yeah.
Emphasize the helpful parts of it, not the religious aspects, I suppose.
Yeah.
Through one's actions.
Yes, being a role model for sure. And all the stuff you were talking about previously, which is, having, a listening ear.
Yeah. That's how I wanted to frame it. A listening ear,
Yeah,
not an
that's
ear to
good. I
listen
like
to.
Everyone
we
needs an
got
ear
it.
to listen to.
Yes. we all
Sounds like they might be Giants lyrics.
So, it does help that a lot of modern psychology really kind of follows basic Buddhist teachings about, how to control your own reactions and how to, give people positive regard and all of that sort of stuff. And so a lot of times I just sort of shift into the language of, mindfulness, even though I know that I'm still kind of doing Buddhist teachings. I think it's really important that we're not really trying to be evangelists here. We're not trying to pad, the pews, as it were, or, to get a bunch of people involved in the Sangha. If somebody's curious about Buddhism, just, say the word, I'm there. But, we really do emphasize that this is a very, very voluntary situation, that you come into this because you're genuinely curious and you think it can help you, and then it's there.
Also, our temple is very small. I don't think we could fit many more people in there.
No, we're very, very intimate little Sangha. But I think we're trying to improve the world, and we know that Buddhism is a very powerful way to do that. And we're not trying to do it in a way that, violates someone else's, liberty to choose their own spiritual path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our goal is compassion.
Yes. And sometimes shutting up about your religion is what compassion is. All right. Next. So, Nawano kind of has, I think this is from him. This may actually go into Japanese Buddhism a little bit, but there's kind of a list that he provides in some of his writings of the 7 different kinds of generosity. And I really kind of like this list. So let's kind of talk about them. So the first 2 are sort of about body language. So he calls these the 7 offerings. And so one is the offering of the eyes, and then the second one is offering of a smiling and joyful face. And so do you feel like a lot of times when you're going into situations that you really kind of monitor your facial expression in order to make a certain kind of impression on people?
Oh, I do that at
Yes.
work all the time.
Oh, yeah. Like when I'm greeting tables, I try to make sure that I'm not looking how I'm feeling. Typically, I'm tired or
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Got that
I have to-
customer service smile.
Yeah, I got to put on the customer service face.
Now, do you feel like that's all just a complete facade, or do you genuinely feel, warmth and tenderness towards your pizza patrons?
I mean, typically I do genuinely enjoy talking to people, and as long as, they're giving that energy back,
Yes.
then I'm like, okay, period.
Yeah.
But I mean, half of me is like that. The other half is tired and wants to go home and sleep.
The other
and-
half is
yeah.
like, oh my god, I have 3 hours of this shift left. Please
Yeah,
let me
exactly.
go home.
I don't think that that's hypocritical at all. I think that's just human. I mean, the fact that you're putting forth an effort to try to smile and be nice to people, there's nothing fake about that. That just means you're actually wanting to make a good impression. So I have to do this with teenagers every day.
Oh, I
It's
can
summer break,
imagine.
you don't.
I mean,
Well, so I'm sure I've told this story before. Every morning, I go out in the hall and I have my little playlist for when the bell rings. And I have a little remote speaker and I have my playlist and I play music and then I say hello to about 50 or 60 zombie teenagers who barely acknowledge my existence because they are miserable. They are starting that day going, I don't want to be here. I hate this. Why am I here? And I'm going, good morning. Happy Monday. How's it going?
High school.
And there are definitely days where I'm not feeling it. But I feel just that act of smiling and having a pleasant body language and pleasant, a look in my face, that's not just helping them in whatever small way, that it is actually helping me start my day. And it kind of puts me in a good frame of mind, right?
Yeah. Being nice to
Yeah.
people is just nice.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, well, that's the only reason you do it because it makes you feel good." It's like, well, no, that's not how it works at all. You're doing something nice because it helps other people, and a byproduct of that is that it helps you as well. And of course, Buddhism is going to say those two things go together. Helping others and helping yourself is actually the same thing.
yeah.
Because everything's interconnected.
So the next is the offering of speech. And so word choice makes a difference, right? And voice tone and all of that sort of stuff. And so again, being aware of how you're saying what you're saying is actually going to have an impact on the people around you. Can you guys think of examples of that?
I mean, example when, we're doing our customer service stuff.
Right.
Word choice being having very positive words, not instead of you more neutral saying like when somebody asks for something, you don't say, okay, you say, absolutely, I will go get that for you. Perfect. Glad you're enjoying your food. Whatever.
That was downright perky.
Yeah.
Wow. You're good.
And I know that like a lot of people do. I go into like a completely different voice too.
Oh,
Yeah.
My
absolutely.
voice like goes
yeah.
an octave higher. It's like,
You get all
hello there. Is
sing-songy.
that going to be a table for 3?
Yeah. Hello, this is this restaurant that I'm working at. How can I help you today? No, my mom,
guys are
the first time I started working at the place that I work at, my mom was like, okay, how do you answer the phone? I want to hear your customer service voice. And then I said
It's
it,
really
and she got
important.
giggled and stuff like that. She thought it was so funny.
Thing is, like, I'll be having conversations with my coworkers. The phone will ring. I'll pick it up. Completely different voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's perkier. Like, I have friends who have the most monotone, like, sarcastic voices. And then when they pick up the phone, they're like, hi! It makes me giggle every time.
Yeah, and again, I don't think this is just, being fake. I think it's just being kind of, like turning up the volume on your kindness a little bit in order to project it more.
There's time and place,
Yes. All right. Now the other ones on here, one of them is like, offering the body and I think that's just, willingness to kind of put, time and effort and physical, like say helping somebody move. All right, that's not a pleasant thing. It's painful, and it's hard, and it's hot, and you're gonna suffer a little bit doing that, but it's gonna help that person, get into their apartment or whatever they need to do. The next one is offering of the mind, and I think for Buddhism, this is more like an offering of the heart, and so this is a mind of good intention. That I'm actually going to go into this interaction with you with the best possible thoughts and motives in mind. All right, and so I'm going to go into our interaction wanting things to turn out for the best. So easier said than done, especially if it's something that you're nervous about or with somebody that you don't find pleasant. And so have you ever been in a situation where you've just basically had to kind of tune yourself first and then go into the situation before because otherwise things could turn out worse than they already are going to.
Yeah. When people, like, let's say me and a friend had, like, an issue with something and people text me and saying, hey, let's talk about this. I have to take, like, at least 30 minutes to just kind of, like, okay, let's think about this, decompress, go into it.
Right. And with texting, you really have to look at things like word choice because they're not going to pick up on your facial expression or voice tone or body language. And so, sometimes I'll type out a text and then I'll go, okay, they're going to read that into it and this other thing into it. And then it's like, okay, I got to find the proper word here. And then something that would have taken me like 10 seconds to say verbally, it takes me like 10 minutes to do on a text message to make sure it's not going to be misinterpreted.
Got to add specific like punctuation, exclamation points when you're enthusiastic, and smiley faces to know that they meant that in a positive way.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for emojis. Otherwise, no one would know what we really mean. But I mean, notice with all of these things, how much, just awareness you put into everyday interactions. I mean, Buddhism really kind of is demanding, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about consideration. That's what I really appreciate about this belief system is it's so considerate of everybody.
Yes. Karin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, that's probably why there were Pratyeka Buddhas, right? It's easier to go isolate and, not have to interact because of how much energy it takes for a proper delivery, to be respectful. My facial expressions, eye expressions, where I have empathy and good intentions. And it requires a great deal just to have a healthy interaction with someone, especially if someone is being adversarial or, difficult in general.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys get customers like that all the time.
Smiling face.
I will say this. If you get that right intention down, the rest of it kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
The facial expressions and the body language, and you're not having to sit there kind of, is my smile need to be, a millimeter or two more? It's not it. If your heart's in the right place, a lot of that is there.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so two last things that are offering. So one of them, and this is a big deal in Japan, but I know that it also was, when I was growing up, just offering your seat to someone else. If you're like on a bus or in a crowded room or something like that, often to an elder or someone that you thinks might need to sit down more, but just the kind of getting up and saying, here, have a seat. I think those sorts of gestures are really powerful. And then the last one is offering of the hovel. Does everybody know what a hovel is?
Home.
Yes. So I don't think that this necessarily means, inviting homeless people to live, in your living room. Although I have actually done that. I have had actual homeless people come and live with me. And for the record, my dad, who was a Church of Christ minister, we had people who were just going through really hard times come and stay with us, sometimes for months. And it could be that they were having mental illness issues. It could be that they were having financial issues. It could be that there was a death in the family, and they just had nowhere else to go. And so this is a really powerful form of generosity. All right, and so how do you think we could practice that today? I mean, you guys, I've got. My house is pretty full, and I'm not going to really invite a lot of other people, although I guess we took Gabriel on, huh?
Yeah. Does he count?
and our dog.
And our cat.
So what do you guys think about homelessness?
I mean, it's definitely a significant issue in our city, at least. I see
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah,
kind
now
of-
that it's getting hot.
Yeah, it's really bad recently. And I mean, donating and helping where you can in places that help homeless and support homeless people and offer jobs. And, there's the Curbside Chronicle. You can
Yes.
buy those things and, help those who are trying to sell it and make a living and get to where they need to be.
So a lot of people would say giving money to homeless people is kind of enabling them. What do you guys think about that?
I think it depends.
I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Karin?
Well, I don't know what point to make because there's, it's like, to me, it's like one of those, issues and that isn't, that's becoming more and more pervasive, especially where our Sangha is really affected by, more over time. There's more and more people camping out in the yard. And
Yeah, we have a serious vagrancy problem at the Dharma Center.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's a systematic issue, obviously. I mean, especially with how inflation's been, an issue and how prices of housing has been going up, and we're not getting paid enough to actually be able to pay for any of that. So, living is expensive and getting more and more expensive by the day. And so it's easier to get into that sort of space.
Yeah.
Ghibli Studios, the saddest movie you'll ever watch, Grave of the Fireflies.
I need to watch that.
Me too.
It takes so anyway, the beginning is two kids. It's from the kids' point of view. Two kids who are at Hiroshima, I believe. One of them, or Nagasaki. They're just two kids, and they track them through their life. And the beginning is this guy in the gutter, and people are kicking him, and and that was that kid. You know what I mean? It's like people are on the streets for whatever reason, and we just we turn a blind eye, or we go, oh, they're there because they made bad decisions and make all kinds of judgments, and it's because of any number of reasons, and Reaganomics. They just opened up the mental health, the mental hospitals, and said, there you go.
Yeah.
And now we just bus them to whatever metro area. Oklahoma City gets a lot of them from bus, from another city. It's crazy. So I don't know, it's like, I don't know how to tackle that issue in a nutshell.
Well, and I think, we're such an individualistic society that, that's kind of a problem on both sides of that. One, we blame individuals for their own circumstances, which is, kind of ignoring at least half the picture. And then the other one is that we feel like, well, if something's going to change, it has to be done by a bunch of individuals, which is also kind of a problem. And it really shouldn't even have to come down to, whether we decide in this one circumstance, whether giving this person $5 or not is going to go to them drinking or not. It shouldn't really be our problem, on an individual basis. It should be something that the society kind of gets together in.
Yeah.
But we can say this.
Socialism.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Scary.
Yeah, we probably need a whole episode on
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where to start or where to end with that.
Yeah, we should probably do that.
Capitalism is anti-Buddhist.
Yes and no. But I will say this. It doesn't really matter whether someone's circumstances is a result of their bad decisions or not.
They're still human.
They're still human. And
They deserve
suffering.
compassion and,
And so, and sometimes, but we also practice skillful means. Sometimes compassion is, not, giving them things that are going to make their situation worse.
Yes.
In the long run. Okay.
So that was the good point, just at the very end there, we do what we can without judgment.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. So we're not going to get into the impact of, the disparity between rich and poor has on the economy and that sort of stuff. For us, generosity is about our interactions with the people around us, and that's where we're going to kind of keep it grounded. And then maybe we could have an episode where we really, talk about, the social justice and like the big systemic issues that we're discussing here. All right, so paramita number 2 is keeping the precepts. So, what are precepts? You're reading the definition right now, aren't you?
Yep. Sure.
General rules intended to regulate behavior or thought.
That is right out of the dictionary. Thank you very much.
We
You're
did it.
welcome.
So, yeah. Okay, so precepts originally were kind of rules for monks. That they really were. They were like, and there's a million of them. I mean, the stuff that Buddhist monks were supposed to do is just, some of it's kind of ridiculous. But that's not what we're talking about. And so these really get kind of covered in the Eightfold Path by, right speech and right livelihood and right conduct. That's really, right conduct is pretty much. But let's kind of, let's recap. All right, so.
It's been forever since we recorded that episode. How are we supposed to remember these precepts?
I know. And see, they number them for us and everything.
They number everything.
What they really are about is kind of perfecting your personality. So we talk about, sort of Buddhism as therapeutic model. So there's cognitive behavioral therapy. This is kind of the behavioral part of that. And yes.
Personality or character?
I kind of conflate those two. Character to me, like if you've got character, that means, almost something good, whereas a personality is sort of your individual style, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think character is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is kind of a process of just, getting yourself right. And I think something that really kind of comes out of this is, how are we a good role model for others? And how do we show other people a better way to be through our own behavior and the choices that we make? So, one thing that you're going to see over and over and over again in Buddhism, especially Mahayana Buddhism, is that one key to enlightenment is not about us sitting there and trying to get ourselves, perfectly sane, that we actually establish and develop sanity by helping others be sane. And so have you ever been in a situation where you're really, 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 really struggling? And it's almost a relief when someone else needs something from you. Mm-hmm. Because then you can go and help them out and get out of your own head for a little bit.
You feel like you have a little bit more control over.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever situation.
And you can say, look, I'm not a complete waste of space because look, I've been able to do this thing for someone else.
It's like when I'm training people at work, what I do is I start doing this thing where I try to be as good at my job as possible. Not like in a look at how much better I am at my job than you way, but in a look, I'm good at my job kind of way.
Please take me seriously.
It's just like, I can teach you good. I'm good at job.
And, and this is your first job and you're kind of the youngest person there. And so you're really trying, you're kind of the baby of it. But, I think, just being so conscientious, you've made a really good impression on people.
They have me occasionally training like people in their 20s when they come in.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the baby now?
When I was a support worker, which is like bottom of the hierarchy at the restaurant I work at, like I was training servers and people who were like 30 who were like managers at other restaurants and stuff like that. They had me training them on how to run food, how to put it in the POS, how to, it was interesting.
Because you're an effective leader and
Thank you.
communicating.
I appreciate that. I try.
Because you know how to do your job.
Yeah.
So bottom line is that for Mahayana Buddhism, this is a reciprocal process. You take care of others, you take care of yourself, and it's really just the same thing. And you take care of yourself by taking care of others, and you take care of others by taking care of yourself. And there's times when you just go, you know what? You just can't need anything from me right now. Just not in a place. Can't do it. you know, and I need to kind of work some stuff out, and you guys just need to go kind of deal with your own stuff, you know, without
And
me.
you know, Dad, you could really do that more.
You try being a parent and see how that works out.
Just tell us if you don't want to do something.
Sorry, I've dedicated my life to endless self-sacrifice.
He has.
But-
It's so annoying.
It's okay. A little bit of passive aggressiveness once in a while is, you know, just good for the soul, really.
Once in a while.
Martyrdom, part of Bodhisattva path.
Not even a little.
I don't think so.
No,
You
no,
don't sacrifice yourself because you're also an important step to finding enlightenment.
Yes, yes.
Dad.
It's true. Okay, so very quickly, we covered all of these in previous episodes, but these are kind of the 5 basic Buddhist precepts. Don't take a life unnecessarily, and the only reason to take a life ever is just defense. Mm-hmm. Oh, do you want to read the next one? Sure. What's the next one?
Don't steal.
Right. All right. That's pretty simple. Just don't take stuff that's not yours. Go ahead.
Not to commit sexual misconduct.
And again, the line there is just, it's not that sex is bad, but sex is a very powerful experience. And when being involved in it ends up hurting someone else emotionally or physically or whatever, then that's misconduct. All right. What's the next one?
To not lie.
Okay. Now, once in a while, skillful means might say the truth is you're not ready for the whole truth right now. And it's not, and I think it's your intention. If you're lying to either manipulate someone else or to protect yourself, then that's not okay. But, you know, if you're having to not say what's really, you know, needs to be said because they're just not ready to hear it, then maybe that's a different situation.
To protect others.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah, you got to be careful because sometimes it's not your place to judge whether they could handle the truth or not.
I think we lie to ourselves on a regular basis
Yes, we
by
do.
not accepting reality, you know, as it is.
And that is a really good point. And then the last one is about intoxication. And so, of course, you know, Buddhism is not a super, you know, teetotaler religion, but it's more about, you know, if you're doing anything that's altering your brain to such an extent that you're lapsing in judgment and doing things that are hurting yourself and others, then that's not okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, any last comments before we wrap it up? What did we learn today?
The Paramitas.
Right. And what does that mean? What's another name for Paramita?
Buddha boats.
The Buddha boats. The
It's like
various
scrolling up to
other
the top of the
shore.
notes.
6 perfections. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, and, okay. So, what's a Shravaka?
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm trying to think.
You can do it.
You got this.
It's the one that that goes out by themselves and reaches
No,
enlightenment, right?
That's a Prachika Buddha.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
switch that around.
Okay.
Wait, what's-
So what's a Shravaka?
Finds enlightenment within community.
Kind of, yes. So here are people who listen
Yeah,
to the
yeah, they
teachings
have
of
ears.
the Dharma. Yes. All right, and then Prachika Buddha is
What I said earlier. A Buddha who goes out by themselves and isolates to reach enlightenment.
nice, finds the enlightenment within, and then Bodhisattva is Karin.
To vow to commit to service of humankind.
Exactly, and reaches enlightenment through compassion. And so we talked about generosity as well and the importance of how generosity kind of helps everyone around you and helps you too.
And the different types of generosity.
All right, and that will wrap it up for today. And thank you all for listening to the Bloomin Bodhisattva podcast, brought to you by Rissho Kosei-kai Dharma Center in Oklahoma City. And stay tuned for the next episode when we will continue our talk about the 6 Paramitas. Until then, our fellow Bodhisattvas, keep on blooming!